So you're thinking about moving or relocating to Nashville, Tennessee. Well, in this video, we're going to talk about the top 10 things you need to know about moving to Nashville, Tennessee. And if you stick around to the end, number 10 is my absolute favorite. So you've made the decision to move to Nashville, Tennessee. And so like I said before, we're going to talk about the top 10 things that you need to know before moving to Nashville, Tennessee. And so the first one, and I don't want to say step, but the first thing that you need to know is that I'm here to be a resource for you. I know what it's like to move to Nashville from another city. I moved here from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Nashville in East Nashville during the beginning of a pandemic and had no clue on where I wanted, didn't know anyone here, didn't know where I wanted to be, what areas would fit our style of what we're looking, what we wanted when we were moving. And so I wish there was someone like myself that went through what I was going through. So what I want you to do is, if you feel like you need a resource, down below in the description is my information. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, email me any single time that you have a question about a certain area or a specific neighborhood or whatever it is, or you just want to know, hey, what's the best, I'll be in town, what's the best restaurant to go to? I want to be that resource for you. Also, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell right next to it, because we're always dropping videos on what it's like to eat, play, live, sleep, work in Nashville, Tennessee. So again, the number one thing you need to know is that I'm here to be a resource. So again, hit me up in the description below if you have any questions. Love to be that resource for you. All right, and so that brings us to the number 2 thing that you need to know about moving to Nashville, Tennessee. And that is obviously self-explanatory, your budget. What are you willing to spend monthly or for rent, or what are you willing to spend or pre-approved for when it comes to buying a home, right? And the reason I say this is because every subdivision, every neighborhood, every city of Nashville, whether it's Franklin, Brentwood, East Nashville, Germantown, the Gulch, for the most part, the price ranges and the monthly rents are all different, right? So if we always tell everyone to start with the budget, and that's what my wife and I did. We knew what we were willing to spend every single month on a monthly rent until we find the perfect home for us to buy. And we went out there and there was, a bunch of different areas that we can decide from. So before you do anything, I 100% want you to determine what is that budget that you're willing to spend monthly if it's on rent, or what is your budget when it comes to either paying cash or getting pre-approved for a mortgage on a home. And from there, then we can determine, all right, great, based off of that, what is the areas that you're willing, that you're able to move to, right? So again, the number 2 thing that I highly recommend is getting a budget, monthly budget, or obviously that budget in the price point that you're willing to purchase a home. And so that brings us, once we have that budget, that brings us to the third thing that you need to know when it comes to moving to Nashville. And now that you have your budget, what we want to do is do the research on what areas fit that budget, fit that price point that we're willing to be in. And I take it a little bit further of doing the research, right? What are you looking for in a home? What are you looking for in an area? Do you want walkability? Do you want land? Do you want somewhere that's easy to jump on the bus? Do you want to be close to downtown? Do you want to have neighbors on top of you, or do you want an acreage of land? And understanding, once you have your budget and know what you're looking for, then you do the research on what areas that match that, right? So my wife and I, we wanted something that had some walkability, had local coffee shops, great restaurants, food, we love food, but that was also close to downtown. We stumbled upon East Nashville, and that's where we live, right? We love going into downtown, but don't want to be in downtown. We love going to restaurants. East Nashville arguably has some of the best restaurants, food, and coffee in here. So doing the research on each specific suburb, again, if you need help with that, let us know. But that is the third thing that you need to know or do before you decide to move to Nashville, Tennessee. So now that you've got your budget, you've got you've done the research on the different areas that fit what you're looking for, fit the price point, fit the type of lifestyle that you're looking to live in. The fourth thing that we want to talk about is obviously where will you be working? Are you going to be working from home? Great, that doesn't matter, right? It's just all about where do you want, like how far do you want to drive? But if you are working, what is the commute time? Because understanding that there is a lot of traffic on certain highways here in Nashville. Yes, there's a lot of traffic. When I tell you it's gridlocked, it's not like California. It's definitely worse than Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but there are 100% hands down traffic. So understanding how much you're willing to spend in your car every single day, and then that'll help you narrow down obviously areas, right? So if you're thinking about Franklin, for example, if you're not going to be working in Franklin, you're going to be working in downtown, keep in mind that's going to be a 30 to 45 minute, maybe an hour drive, depending on traffic, during the rush hour times. And so again, that is the fourth thing you need to understand is like, what are you willing to do and how much time are you willing to spend in your car every single day? Then that helps you narrow down the certain areas, right? So, again, Brentwood, Nolensville, Franklin, those are 30, 35, 40 minutes from downtown. So that is, for us, my wife and I, that was something that we knew. We work from home, but we knew that we didn't want to be an hour from our parents in Brentwood. We didn't want to be 30 minutes from downtown because we like to go out every once in a while, right? So just understanding whatever your lifestyle is, what is that commute time that you're looking to? And that'll help you really break down what areas that you're willing to take a look at. So once you have again, just to recap, once you have the budget in place, once you've narrowed it down to what cities, now you know the commute time, and even narrowed it down even a little bit more, is we need to know that everybody is moving to Nashville, Tennessee. The last time I looked, it was about 100 to 110 people a day moving to Nashville. So understanding that you're not the only one thinking about this, you gotta move fast. And so when you decide on an area, we need to move and go and look at it and really dive deep on the opportunities that you have in that market. So just understanding that everyone is moving to Nashville, Tennessee. We are in the process of 5 individuals helping them move, 4 from California, 1 from Portland, helping them move to Nashville in the last month, right? So understand that everyone's relocating. Keep that in mind. So when you are looking and outlooking and understanding the market, when it comes to Nashville, that there's a lot of people moving here. And so with that being said, knowing that everyone's moving here, the housing market moves super fast. Specifically rentals. If you're looking to rent a home or an apartment here in Nashville or in the surrounding metropolitan areas, suburbs, housing moves fast. When I tell you it can hit the market and it's gone the same day, it's absolutely true, right? Especially if it's priced right, the rent is priced right, it's a nice home in the right area, it will absolutely fly off the market. So understanding once you got your budget, you found the area, and you've 100% decided and you know that everyone's moving here, when you find that property, you have to act fast. For example, we rent the home that I'm in right now in my office. We rent this home. We rented it sight unseen, because we've lost out on 4 or 5 other properties that we were offering above rental market value, right? And so really understanding that the market moves fast. And I'm telling you right now, you may have to rent a property sight unseen and just trust the process. And that's why I'm here to be a resource for you as well. I want to keep reiterating that. If you need anything at all, let us know. But in the end, just knowing that everyone's moving here and that you definitely need to move fast when rentals and buying a home. So again, that 6th thing that you need to know is 100% that the housing market absolutely flies off the market. All right, now we have your housing. We have all that figured out, where you're gonna go. You've purchased that. Another thing that I like to mention, and it was a shocker to me, and so the 7th thing that we're gonna talk about that you need to know is that insurance here is relatively cheap. Just to give you perspective on what we talk about insurance, whether it's health insurance, car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance. It's relatively cheap compared to what we had back in Fort Lauderdale and assuming other metropolitan areas. So back home, when we lived in Fort Lauderdale, our car insurance for my wife was $350 a month, and mine was $400 a month. And just car insurance. Once we made the move to Nashville and transitioned over our insurance, hers is $150 a month for the same exact vehicle. Mine is $175 for the same exact vehicle. So almost half. Mine was less than half the price. Hers was about half the price. So understanding that car insurance is 100%, Florida is a no-fault state, right? So they raise prices all the time. Health insurance for us, right? Health insurance absolutely was cut in half. So we were spending roughly $400 a month in health insurance. And we're not talking about I'm not talking about top of the line health insurance, just enough to get us covered if something was happening. And so we took the same exact policy and was able to get more coverage for less, right? So we were paying roughly about $400. Right now we're paying $275 a month on health insurance for the both of us, right? So understanding that your insurance may or may not drop depending on where you're coming from, but relatively speaking, it is pretty inexpensive when it comes to moving to Nashville in different areas. All right, so that brings us to the eighth thing. We're talking about insurance. We're talking about different things like that. So understanding there is no state tax here in Tennessee. I was lucky, moved from Fort Lauderdale, from Florida, no state tax there, here to Tennessee. But most of you that are thinking about relocating to Tennessee in general, specifically Nashville, there is no state income tax here in this state. For me, we decided over North Carolina, moving to Charlotte to here solely because very similar cities, but because we get to still take advantage of having no state income tax, right? Who wants to pay extra in taxes every single year? But with that, understanding that the tax rate is a little bit higher depending on where you live. So for example, in Fort Lauderdale, our tax on just daily purchases was 7%. State tax, that's it. Sales tax was that. Here, there's state sales tax and then there's other taxes, so it's 7% in the state, and then here in Davidson County, it's actually 9.75, right? There's an additional 1.75% on all sales tax that's added. So just understanding that every county that you live in may be a little bit different, but the taxes, there's no state income tax, but they do get you on the sales side of things, right? So that is one thing that for me, we made the decision on that. So if that is something you're deciding one place over the next, it's a huge savings on those state income taxes. But you also have the sales tax that may be increased or decreased depending on where you are coming from. All right, and so that, we've talked about your budget, we've talked about, all the different things. That brings us to number 8, right? The number 8 thing you need to know when it comes to moving to Nashville, Tennessee. I talk about this in the pros and cons video that I dropped, so go check that video out. But there are potholes the roads here are god awful, right? And I don't want that to steer you away, right? They do a pretty decent job of filling in potholes when they happen, but the roads here are really bad. Don't know where you're coming from, but from Fort Lauderdale, roads were amazing, right? They were repaved all the time. Here in Nashville, it's like they haven't touched them in years. So just understanding that if you're coming from one area to the next, you have to get used to the roads being horrible. When I'd say there's potholes on the highway, there are potholes on the highway. So just understanding that, right? Never had a flat tire while driving, moved here, flat tire, right? So just understand that the roads here, the highways are not the best. It's you get off and boom, you have to merge right over, so they didn't think about commuting and having the influx of individuals on the roadways when they started, building infrastructure here in Nashville. So just understand that when you're coming here, obviously you have the traffic we talked about earlier and the commute times, but understanding that a lot of it has to do with the roadways, with the way that the roads are horrible, with the way that the highways are configured. It is just, I don't want to say a nightmare, but at times that is something, I want to put that in your head, you are going to have to get used to it. But understanding though, that at the same time, the drivers here are amazing. Nobody honks at you, right? Different things like that. So I sat at a red light for 30 seconds one time, or a green light, 0 honks. I'm like, wow. In Florida, 100%, hands down, they are honking at you, right? As soon as that light turns green, boom, honk, if you haven't gone, right? So just understanding here, I want to reiterate, the roads are pretty bad. You'll get used to them, very quickly. You'll know, especially in your day-to-day driving, things that you have to avoid while you're driving. So just understanding That is one thing you will have to get used to, is the roads and the way the traffic flows here in Nashville. And so we're talking about commuting and different things like that. Next thing I want you to know is if you're thinking about moving here without a car or a means of transportation, that there is no mass transportation here in Nashville. There is no tri-rail like we have in back and forth. There's no subway system. There's no train system to get you from, I mean, there is a train, but it's not like, hey, you get multiple stops along the way, like you would in Florida, certain parts of California, like you would get in Atlanta or New York. There is no mass transit that you can just jump on. We do have Uber. We do have a bus system. Just understanding, if you are moving here with no transportation, Uber, Lyft, maybe a taxi, but the bus is going to be your main means of transportation here in Nashville. With that being said, that brings us to our final and my most favorite is when you move to Nashville, Tennessee, the food and coffee and alcohol scene here is top notch. Arguably my top 3 destinations for food, alcohol, and coffee, right? Just food, beverage, whatever. Moving to a place, right? And so obviously, my 2 favorites are New York and LA, but Nashville is right up there, right up top with them. Chicago, Charleston, different areas like that. But it's arguably my top 3 places for food, right? I live here specifically in East Nashville, and we don't go hungry. No matter where you are at in Nashville, you're in Franklin, Nolensville, Brentwood, Cool Springs, there is unreal food. Again, we are in the South. We do love some hot chicken here, but I'm telling you, even outside of just the hot chicken, the burgers are unreal. We have my favorite steakhouse of all time, Bourbon Steak, here at the JW Marriott. So just understand, be ready to eat, be ready to drink, be ready to have a great time. This is the Music City for a reason. You are going to get live music, great drinks, great food, and more importantly, great coffee. With all that being said, that is the 10 things that you need to know when it comes to moving to Nashville, Tennessee. Now, again, there are a lot more things that you need to know, but those are the most important when it comes to moving to Nashville. Again, remember, I've been through your shoes. I know exactly what it is like to move and relocate to Nashville, Tennessee from another city during a pandemic. So at any time you feel like you need somebody to be a resource, reach out to me anytime. My information is in the description below. Click that like button, click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you can get notified every single time that I drop a new video on what it's like to eat, play, sleep, live, work in Nashville, Tennessee. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this. Hopefully this is helpful. Let me know if you need anything. Let me know in the comments below if you got any value out of this video. And until the next one, peace.